Oregon played pissed off this weekend. They beat Rutgers 56-10 in Piscataway. Love saying that. There was pandemonium in Piscataway. The old Ray Rice team from 2007. Greg Schiano's first time in Piscataway coaching the Rutgers program. Couple of quick stats for you. The Ducks have the nation's longest road winning streak at 10 games. Oregon racked up 750 yards of offense in this game, just short of the program record, 777 yards set against Cal in 2015. And you bet I pulled up that box score, and let me get that for you. Oregon against Cal 2015, that was a Vernon Adams, Jared Goff game. Vernon Adams, 17-29, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. Jared Goff, 18-41, 329, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Your man Vic and Weary rushing the ball for Cal. Bryce Treggs receiving it. Those guys were good players. Oregon's leading rusher that game, Royce Freeman, 29 carries, $180. How did Oregon rack up so many yards, you ask? 477 rushing yards. 477. If Kenai Benoit, who had 8 carries for 94 yards, had 6 more yards, Oregon would have had 3 different running backs with 100 yards in the game. Freeman had 180, Tony Brooks-James with 101, and Kenai Benoit with 94. So 477 yards rushing, 300 yards passing in that game. Oregon wins 44-28. It was a solid Oregon team, but nothing spectacular. That was the Alamo Bowl year that Oregon fans would like to forget. Final one for you. Rutgers has not beat a ranked team in... Take a guess. Take a wild guess. How many years has it been? 16 years. Rutgers has not beat a ranked team in 16 years. That's crazy. They have made back-to-back bowl games. But the point is, after I give you all those stats to set the backdrop, this was about as dominant of a game as I've seen from Oregon under Dan Lanning. This was crazy. From the jump, obviously, Gary Bryant does fumble on the opening possession. Rutgers kicks a field goal. Oregon racked off 56 straight points after that. It was 56-3 at one point. I think it was 42-3 at half. I also loved that Kenyon Sadiq got really involved in this game. Oregon had really underutilized the best tight end in college football, if you ask me. Kenyon Sadiq, in my opinion, and by the way, Jake Butt was on the call this game on the Big Ten Network, Mackey Award winner from Michigan. So he's got that classified G certification, as Shaq likes to say on Inside the NBA, as someone who's actually won the Mackey Award for the outstanding tight end in college football. He says Kenyon Sadiq's the best tight end in college football. Sadiq had 2 catches for 21 yards against Indiana. Like, to me, that is completely unacceptable from the Oregon coaching staff. He wasn't hurt. He was probably open. They probably could have schemed him up more. They could have at least gotten him the ball in a handful of ways. 2 catches for 21 yards against Indiana was wildly unacceptable from offensive coordinator Will Stein, head coach Dan Lanning, and the entire Oregon offense. I get that they got blown up at the line of scrimmage. I get that Dante Moore took that nasty hit to his lower leg and couldn't move much. I get that Indiana's very good. Aiden Fisher's very good. D'Angelo Pons is very good. You still have to get Kenyon Sadiq the ball a lot more than they did. And in this game, against Rutgers, they very clearly went out with the mission to get Kenyon Sadiq the ball, and I love that. Give a shout-out to O.C. Will Stein. Give a shout-out to Dan Lanning. Give a shout-out to Dante Moore, because early and often they were targeting Sadiq. He had 2 of the game's first 3 touchdowns. Noah Whittington busted the first touchdown, a 68-yard run, one of the longest plays of the Ducks season, one of the biggest explosive plays I've seen from Oregon in a long time. I want to say they had 8 explosive plays, 8 plays of over 30 yards in this game, which was great to see. I mean, against Penn State, not a lot of explosives. Obviously against Indiana, not a lot of explosives. Explosive plays are how you win football games against great teams in general. It's really tough to just hold the ball forever and methodically score time and time again. So it was good to see Oregon's talent shine in this game. Like, the pure elite roster talent that the Ducks clearly have, especially compared to lesser teams like Rutgers. Like, if they would have gone out and not played that well, that would have been absolutely alarming. Instead, they go out obviously pissed off the way that the Indiana game went. They heard all week, and probably really to their own standard. I think Dan does a really good job of blocking out any kind of, weird articles, weird media. Like, it's really about their own standard within that building, but they admittedly did not play anywhere close to their standard against Indiana. They got pushed around at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. That was not a good performance against India. That was not a physical performance, and it's the kind of performance that raised eyebrows. Like, oh man, wait, is Oregon actually not a very physical team? Are they actually not that good? I mean, if you think about it, they only scored 2 touchdowns in regulation against Penn State, 1 touchdown against Indiana. Man, wait, is this offense actually not that good? Those were real questions and legitimate questions after Oregon had certainly underperformed on offense against Penn State and Indiana. Those questions were answered emphatically with Oregon is very good on offense. This is a very good offensive team. 750 total yards, 415 rushing yards, 11.5 yards per carry. Dante Moore finishes 15 of 20 for 290, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Noah Whittington, 11 carries, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Davison, 3 carries, 100 yards and a touchdown. D'Air Hill, another fabulous true freshman, 5 carries, 62 yards and a touchdown. Sadiq with 4 grabs for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I know he only had 4 grabs for 80 yards, but they all felt massive. Obviously, the big seam play touchdown to Sadiq was one of the highlights, and then the flea flicker pass to Sadiq down the sideline where he goes so airborne that he comes down hard on himself and gets hurt. Looked a little shaken up after that. He went into the locker room. I think they were just being cautious with him. This was just a nasty play from Will Stein here, where you run the little flea flicker action and you have Sadiq burning down the sideline. I mean, you're just showing off at this point to do it against a team like Rutgers. I'm not sure Oregon even needed to pass the ball to win this game. I'm serious. 415 rushing yards, 11.5 per carry. But just in general, the juice that the Ducks brought to this game I thought was critical. You're traveling across the country. Like, look at what happened when Penn State lost to Oregon and then traveled across the country to UCLA. And that was before Penn State had been, truly defeated and fired James Franklin like they were against Northwestern. Like, they still had everything to play for going into that UCLA game. Travel across the country after an emotional game and a loss, and they lose to UCLA and lay a goose egg. I know that Rutgers is not very talented. I know that Nico is obviously a lot more talented than, all due respect, good old Art Kaliak-Manis, who, by the way, I remember him at Minnesota. Didn't know Rutgers had their hands on him. 8 of 25, 79 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. Rutgers, 202 total yards of offense. Not ideal. But again, I think you credit Oregon for that. Aaron Flowers, Brandon Finney. These freshman DBs that Oregon have look really, really good. Obviously, they did get a little toasted by Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. last game, so they have plenty to learn and plenty to build on. But this was one of those games where it looked like Will Stein was just like playing Madden out there. It was like Oregon's so much faster, so much more talented than Rutgers that you could kind of dial up whatever you wanted. Like, should we throw it to DeCorian Moore down the sideline? Sure. Pitch outside to Noah Whittington? Sure. Hand off up the middle to Jordan Davison? Sure. Seam, 30-yard, 40-yard seam pass for a tutty to Sadiq down the middle? Sure. Another flea flicker? Like, Oregon was doing, they were deep in their bag because they could do whatever they wanted in this game. The Indiana game, like I said, I think you got to give Indiana all the credit first and foremost. They're the number 2 team in the country. I don't think are going to lose until, if at all, until the Big Ten championship game. Their regular season schedule from here on out is very, very manageable. So you give them all the credit. And then that being said, I do think Oregon played poorly at the line of scrimmage, and they just didn't have a lot of juice in that game. This game against Rutgers was like, we're going full throttle. We're here to remind you that we truly are a national title contender. And again, obviously Oregon's going to play teams that are much more talented than Rutgers, although they won't next week because it's Wisconsin, who's really struggling right now. I'll give you Oregon's schedule from here on out. It's Wisconsin and then a bye at Iowa, Minnesota, USC, at UW. Those last 2 games actually really, other than Wisconsin is going to be, a 7 o'clock Eastern kick on FS1 that's been announced at Autzen. Then a bye at Iowa on November 8th could be tricky. I mean, it could be really cold. Iowa's got an elite defense, obviously struggling at quarterback, but elite defense. Minnesota at home should be a cakewalk, but it's a Friday night game, so that'll be fun. USC at home, dangerous enough offense to keep you awake for sure. And then at UW, I'm going to get to them in a second. I don't think UW is good this year. I just don't. I've watched a couple of their games now, and I wonder where Washington fans are at with Jed Fish and Damon Williams Jr., the true sophomore quarterback who is a good talent, but we'll get to UW in a second. I mean, other than Oregon coming out with juice, I thought the getting Kenyon Sadiq involved was what you wanted to see. I'm sure that was talked about in the locker room. I watched the landing presser. No one asked about getting Sadiq involved in particular, but I imagine that was something they made a concerted effort to do, and that was great to see because he is that talented, and to have 2 catches for 21 yards against Indiana is just I don't know. It's not really an acceptable performance from the coaching staff in my opinion, but they bounced back. And I guess the final thing too is not just like coming out with juice. I mean, it's all kind of saying one and the same, but Oregon played pissed off in this game. Oregon played with a pissed off edge. They came out to dominate, to go full throttle. 750 yards of offense, just shy of the program record, 777 set against Cal in 2015. Vernon Adams against Jared Goff in that game. This was the throttling that you wanted to see. This was Kenyon Sadiq getting involved, the nation's best tight end, said by Jake Butt, the former Mackey Award winner. Relatively absent against Indiana, comes out and dominates. This is what you wanted to see, man. If Oregon had struggled in this game, that would have been a serious red flag. Clearly, they did not. They could have named their number. I think it was 56-10 after 3 or 56-3 after 3. They could have scored 70 had they really wanted to. Greg Schiano, after the game, said, quote, "We ran into a buzzsaw tonight. Not acceptable by our team. As the head coach of this program, it's my responsibility, and I'm very disappointed. Very good football team, Oregon. There's no doubt about it. They played with a heck of an edge." End quote. Indeed, that edge was very noticeable in this game. 750 yards of offense, just looking on a box score, is like, this is crazy. What am I looking at? 750 yards of offense. Good to see the O-line dominate. Looked like they moved Harkey to right guard for a bit. Lanning was asked about that. Didn't give a lot of insight into it, but said it was part of the game plan. So, clearly the Oregon O-line coach, Alik Terry, and the Oregon offense in general, Will Stein, looking to make tweaks here and there. But what a win for Oregon.